All right, folks, so here goes nothing. I'm going to try to talk about human trafficking. And it's not an easy subject to talk about. Some of these thoughts might come out of order as a result. But you can't fake this. So let's go back to not this last January, but the January before then. I was at CES, and in the lower part of the where they had the multicultural section, China, France, etc. And I was in one of the Asian areas talking to a representative from a company that makes some niche sort of products that are outside of my normal coverage as far as tech and media goes. And the representative that I was speaking to, I don't know if it was just my PTSD going out of control or if I was reading all the signs correctly, but I swear she was not working out of consent. I swear she was a victim of human trafficking, and that drove me. It caused everything to come back to me like all at once, and I was overwhelming. So basically, when that started happening, I kind of had a breakdown at CES not quite breakdown, but a little more of a panic attack at CES where I talked to an Intel representative. But when I got back to working for Freezing Point LLC, aka Frazzle, I was having horrible flashbacks and panic attacks, and so I tried talking to them about it, and because I was trying to make a report about this potential victim, but I couldn't. Everything would start flashing back, and I'd start rambling like a madman. I couldn't think, have thoughts going a million miles an hour, literally have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 flashbacks all in a row, or even at the same time, if that makes any sense. And basically, first they put me on FMLA as PTSD, but then they basically started pushing me out of the company, limiting who I could speak to, giving me, how would you say it? Instructions that were either contradictory or completely impossible to follow, etc. But that's neither here nor there. Long story short is I ended up moving to Augusta, Arkansas, right? And I tried first just focusing on my PC reviews and trying to heal from that. Long story short is for about 2 or 3 years I was a labor trafficking victim in Roswell, New Mexico. Saw a lot of the nastiness of sex trafficking too, and it kind of fucked me up. Anyways, where were we? Yeah, I moved to Augusta, Arkansas to try to heal from that. I can't explain why I moved there. It doesn't even make sense to me. But once I'd finally gotten to the point where that stuff wasn't bogging down on me, I realized I was, how do I put this? My neighbors were human traffickers. And it just so happened that the person who I started thinking was my quote unquote best friend was a human trafficker named Tyrone Neville, who, amongst other things, managed at least 17 different girls, worked in, counterfeiting money, uh, dealt drugs of all sorts, weed, crystal meth, you name it. Can get you girls of any age. He would brag to me about how uh, he wouldn't mess with women who had been screwed more than 3 times, and that he would always get them fresh. And at first, I didn't get what he meant by that, because again, these sorts of people, it's hard to explain to a normal person how they brainwash you. It's just, you guys can't even begin to understand how deeply brainwashed victims of human trafficking tend to be. Like, we adopt a completely different way of speaking. Words that mean one thing to you can mean completely different things to victims or people who are trapped. And they can't just say, "Hey, I'm trapped. I'm being, you can't just say that." Cuz I wish I could explain these things better to you people like you. Anyways, where were we? I moved out there to get healing, realized Tyrone, I started explaining myself to Tyrone, and he was actually one of the pimps out there, allegedly working with the mayor of Augusta, Arkansas, and who also allegedly helps run the meth trade despite running a program called From Meth to Christ. Yeah. Maybe every accusation is a confession, right? Who knows? I don't know how much of that is true or not. Anyways, the point is that he and his associates, like Michael Roach, and again, it's hard to explain everything to you guys, but between brainwashing, intimidation, coercion, and all these other things, which I'm not even going to try to explain how they work because you guys don't even need to be exposed to that knowledge. But they were forcing me to be a mule. And, at first I didn't even realize it. They tricked me by saying their family needs a ride. But these people, again, they distort the meaning of words completely. And, when they say family, they mean, business. They need to move women. When they're talking about one of the girls that they've trapped and fucked up, they don't refer to them as hookers or prostitutes or anything. They'll talk to them about as they'll say that's my girl or that's my wife. And so if you don't know how they're using their words, you won't see any of the red flags. And these people are so screwed up, man. It's like it's hard for me to concentrate and talk about this without just breaking into the most utterly nasty panic attacks that you could even imagine. And I mean, these fuckers realized that I was catching on to everything, and I was trying to gather information to, maybe help just even one of them. And long story short, in addition to trying to put me in situations that would have ended up in my death, which I narrowly averted. And again, I can't really talk to you about those because, again, panic attacks. But after the last time they tried to kill me, I escaped to Dallas, Texas, right? And during this part, the only reason although I had money coming, I was broke. Only reason I was able to get through this was because of an employee at Intel Corporation named Alejandro Hoyos, who, he kind of knew I was going crazy, and he couldn't tell why. He could only tell that some of what I was saying was true. And I don't blame people for thinking I was crazy. And that's kind of why it was very convenient when the homeless shelter I went to, when I told them, hey, yeah, I came out here because human traffickers were trying to kill me, and I have PTSD and shit. That kind of scares the shit out of people when you say something like that. And so they made me go to the Dallas Unity Mission Hospital, I think it was called, where they had me undergo a complete psychiatric evaluation. And for the first time in my life, oh, God bless that woman, whoever she was, the psychiatrist. She listened to everything I said, didn't coerce me, didn't dismiss me, she listened. And because she listened, I was able to talk to her calmly. And she realized I wasn't crazy. When I got that and when she told me that, it shocked me at first, because so many people dismissed me as crazy, and I had almost gotten to the point where I thought I was totally crazy. And in fact, in some ways I kind of was going crazy, especially if you realize some of the things I was posting, but that was brainwashing, not being crazy. My mind had kind of split into parts, where part of it was being smart and doing everything I could to survive, but the other half was fully brainwashed and submissive to the will of these traffickers. And the last week, basically after I went there to that homeless shelter, I got a little bit money from Dylan Patel of Semi-Analysis, and so I could get back over there. I got back to there and started testing computer hardware again, right? And then they really tried to trap me again. Now, there's words I can't say here, because if I tried to, I can't do it. Well, suffice to say, on one night, they tried to, in addition to trying to make me have sex with these two women in very horrible ways, they also tried to offer me young ones. And I don't just mean jailbait. I mean children. And that night I was just frozen in terror, and I don't even want to talk about that, but I have to. People have to know what's going on out there. I might not be able to do anything about it, but at least I can say I tried to tell people. Because there are so many victims of human trafficking in Augusta, Arkansas, that if you people fucking looked... anyways, that's all for this. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.